President Donald Trump recently had an interview with the Wall Street Journal and in it made some bizarre claims. Shocker, I know, right? So one of them was about Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is a very important day, of course. It's the celebration of the end of slavery in the United States and has been celebrated for the last 150 years. It's even a holiday in 47 states and in D.C. Why not all 50 states, by the way? Why is it only in 47 of the states that it's a national holiday? Or, I'm sorry, a state holiday? Well, apparently there's a couple of states that are still a little bitter over the whole like ending slavery business. So it's one of those things. So now, how does that relate to Donald Trump? Well, a lot of people were pretty mad when he planned his comeback event for Juneteenth, uh, especially since it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? So now, after some massive pushback, and of course, I'm going to explain why, because Tulsa essentially, look, when you plan a Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on a day celebrating the end of slavery, and you have Donald Trump's Republican racist base, well, that's going to cause some problems, right? And so a lot of people were saying, hey, man, whoa, not cool. Let's not do that. How about you move it? And so after pushback, Donald Trump moves it to the 20th. So it's going to happen this Saturday. So now he's going to talk about this. And he tells the Journal, quote, I did something good. I made Juneteenth very famous. What? No, he continues. It's actually an important event, an important time, but nobody had ever heard of it. Nobody ever heard of it. No, no, no. Can you believe this guy? Of course not. Of course he can, right? Here's the thing. He never heard of it. He doesn't know what Juneteenth is. He never knew what Juneteenth was. And so, look, basically, whenever he says, nobody had ever heard of it until I heard of it, it means he just heard of it. Like somebody had literally told. And in fact, in the article, he said that a black Secret Service agent was the one who had informed him about Juneteenth, about the meaning of it, right? And I'm assuming that same person also said, hey, man, having that rally on in Juneteenth is probably not a good idea. So why not do that? He also claimed that those around him, that he decided to take a poll, right? And he and nobody around him knew what Juneteenth was. Again, well, okay, you know what? I was gonna say I don't buy it, but now thinking about it, I mean, the people that he surrounds himself, the best people, the greatest people. I mean, you got Stephen Miller, who probably doesn't know any, or maybe maybe he does and doesn't care, and that's far more likely for Stephen Miller. But maybe there's a lot of people that around him that, yeah, they're like, June what? Who? What? No, I never heard of that. Why would we celebrate the end of slavery? No, we love that. I'm going to bring that back. You kidding me? I know, a little bit hyperbolic, but look, Donald Trump, as far as he's concerned, no, he had no idea. No idea whatsoever. The Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth? Why are people so mad at me for my comeback rally? Juneteenth. Yeah, no. He was apparently, according to the Journal, surprised to learn from an aide during an interview with the Journal that the White House itself, despite nobody there knowing about what Juneteenth was, that the White House had put out a statement about Juneteenth last year. Here's his reaction. Oh, really? We put out a statement? The Trump White House put out a statement? Okay, good. Dumbest, laziest president in history. Oh my God. Like, he doesn't even know what the White House is doing, what the rest of everybody else is doing. Look, and look, I guess it's because people are telling him, they're not telling him what's going on because he or they are telling him and he doesn't listen, uh, or doesn't care. And so he gets his information not from these daily briefings, right? Because he doesn't care about daily briefings. He's always bored when it comes to them. And, he doesn't read, obviously. And so he gets his information, he gets his news from Fox News, right? You think Fox News is going to say, oh, by the way, the White House put out a statement celebrating Juneteenth. You think Fox News cares at all about the end of slavery? No way. Absolutely not. Inconceivable. All right. Now, one more insane moment here, right? And this is Trump talking about systemic racism. Quote, I'd like to think there is not systemic racism, but unfortunately, there probably is some. I would also say it's very substantially less than it used to be. All right. So, I mean, look, that statement was so close. I mean, he's almost there. He's so close. There is systemic racism. And yes, okay, is it a bit less? I actually think that that there's about as much as there used to be. Almost as much. I think that a lot of it has changed form, though. And so what I mean by that is that it's not quite as overt and in your face as it used to be. Okay. It's not like we've got separate drinking fountains now, but we do have separate communities. We have redlining for the banks. Our communities are generally segregated. A lot of our schools are as well. And it's mostly now done by class instead of race. I mean, you live in a wealthier area, you have better schools, right? You live in a poorer area, you tend to have more poorly funded schools. And it just so happens the class breakdown, the demographics of that, generally people, black people tend to be in the lower socioeconomic strata. And so, yeah, they tend to get worse education as a result of that. That is systemic racism. And so, look, systemic is okay. Racism and classism, they do go hand in hand. Those are not separate things. If you want to help solve one, you got to help solve the other, right? They are linked in the system when it comes to systemic racism. Black people have been disadvantaged for a very, very long time in this country. And as a result, they have not been able to build wealth and pass it down to their children the way that white families have and communities have been able to do so. So it's not that they can't build wealth. It's that they haven't had the ability to do so for a very, very long time in the past. And then hand that wealth down, like, again, a lot of white families are able to do so and have been able to do so. And that's why, of course, in general, Black people don't have a lot of the nation's wealth comparatively to white people. And so that's an issue. That's a big issue. And that's systemic racism. Not only that, but it also not only exists in policing, of course, in prisons, but again, you've got housing, employment. I mean, Black names get less callbacks and less job offers than white sounding names with the same qualifications, by the way. You also has, as I mentioned, education, also healthcare outcomes. They don't get as good of healthcare outcomes. And oftentimes, and we've seen the studies of how Black women are considered to be, I mean, when it comes to medicine, it's more hard to explain. Like, doctors really don't believe Black women when they say that they're in pain. And then, of course, there are the stereotypes that, oh no, you shouldn't be giving this Black person some of these drugs because, well, they're going to abuse those drugs. They're druggies, of course. And so there are those stereotypes that exist, right? And not only that, but they've been very much disadvantaged by COVID-19. I mean, you have now we're going to be facing a homelessness crisis very soon in some of these areas due to economic conditions created by the coronavirus and the government's lack of a response, and it has disproportionately affected African American communities. And so, yeah, there is a lot of systemic racism. It's incredibly pervasive in our system. It touches almost nearly every facet of our society because of the roots of this country, based a lot in the transatlantic slave trade. And our country was built in large part by slavery. And so, yeah, it is deeply ingrained in our system. And as far as, of course, Donald Trump either doesn't know, doesn't care, or both. And the reason is because he and his family have never experienced it before. They've never experienced it, probably really doesn't even realize how pervasive and how far it goes. And so that is a big problem. And that explains why he's one of the reasons why he's ignorant. But here's the thing: you can cure ignorance, right? You can do so by trying to educate yourself. But Donald Trump, he's one of those people that are willfully ignorant and doesn't bother to attempt to even try to educate himself. And that is a problem not just for him. It's a problem that we see a lot in, unfortunately, Republican/conservative circles. And so that ignorance, unfortunately, is now even being celebrated. And that is just something that needs to change. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.